Big time.
What's up?
What's up? What's up? All right. We are back. Another episode of Tailgate Trash Talk.
That's right.
Championship weekend is in the books.
Yes, sir.
We've got 9 games, I believe, was on the slate for championship weekend, and
But really only like four
really
mattered.
Yeah. Yeah, really the big 4 or 5 games that could have potentially impacted the college playoff. We didn't get the chaos we thought we might.
That I was hoping for, that I
Yeah.
predicted, unfortunately.
You picked some upsets that didn't come to fruition, but
that's right.
It would have been
Gary
fun.
Senior, welcome for another episode, bud. Love having you on.
What's up? All right, well, let's jump right into it.
You take the reins, my bud. You take the reins.
All right, let's do it. Let's jump right into it. Friday night, Utah put another beat down on Oregon, proving 2 things. One, that they're the best team in the Pac-12. And the second thing is the CFP committee can kiss the fattest part of my ass about Oregon being number 3 in their initial rankings. So
that's a big ass.
Yeah, you're damn right. Look, Utah is clearly head and shoulders above Oregon. I think we're realizing here that Oregon got Ohio State at the right time, early in the season. New quarterback, a lot of new faces on defense, especially. They lose a lot of talent to the NFL every year on that defense. Ohio State looked like the better team at the end of the season, despite not winning the Big Ten. They ran into Michigan, who's on a mission this year. Oregon got the buzzsaw twice from Utah here down the stretch. Other than making me very happy, I want to hear your thoughts here. Utah, Oregon. What'd you think of the game? Anything change in your perception of Oregon?
No, not at all. And you hit the nail on the head with the CFP committee. Basically laying an egg with them being at number 3. To put a Pac-12 team in the top 5 of your initial CFP rankings at number 3, I understand they were undefeated at the time.
No, they weren't. They weren't, remember? Because that came after their Stanford loss.
That's right. Yep.
That's the part that I was the most upset about. That everyone wanted to talk about that big win, right? But I think sometimes
they forget about the bad loss.
Right. We do that sometimes at the cost of remembering how bad they looked against Stanford.
Yeah. Yep. You're right. And, I think they had a lot of hype, especially after the Ohio State win. But you also had Thibodeau emerging as a defensive player to be reckoned with, potential Heisman candidate, potential top NFL pick in this year's NFL draft, which it's going to be a defensive player, and it very well could be him as number 1. We haven't seen that for a while now.
Yeah, I think Myles Garrett was the last one.
Yeah. So they were getting a lot of hype early, but definitely, when you look at the Pac-12 as a whole, you had Oregon, and really Utah didn't really emerge as like a leader in the Pac-12 until probably mid-season or so. It overall in general, USC is down, UCLA was down, Arizona State was supposed to be decent this year. They're down. Arizona's just abysmal. They won one game this year, I think.
Maybe in the 2020s.
Yeah. Oregon State was kind of up there for a little bit. They're okay. So altogether as a whole conference, the Colorado in there too. So altogether, it's just out of the conferences, out of the Power 5 conferences, they are definitely the worst out of those 5 conferences, in my opinion. So
I think that's a fair assessment. I give the ACC a lot of flack too, but the Pac-12's pretty bad too.
Yeah.
So I can definitely sympathize with you there. I think Utah has the opportunity here, though, to take this title run and really build something next year. Cam Rising, I think, is somebody. I mean, what a name, right? Rising and becoming the starter midway through the season, and the team instantly takes off. And you said it, right? Utah wasn't really on everybody's radar, but once he moved in at quarterback, they had a couple of losses early in the season that they, one of for sure they shouldn't have lost. Once he took over at quarterback, they were a different team. So that's a team that you've got to think for the Pac-12 next year that they're going to be a problem for USC, who's going to try to rebuild quickly because they want to win. And Oregon and UCLA, Chip Kelly there, you're expecting things from Chip Kelly. And, Arizona State obviously has Herm. And these teams that are expecting to compete, look out for Utah because they've got a really talented offense, a really talented quarterback, and they're going to put a hurting on some teams.
Yeah, yep, I agree. And we can talk about some of those coaches maybe later on.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the show.
Absolutely. Yeah, that coaching carousel keeps on turning.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Probably this is the game we put the most stock into, last week talking, and obviously it got the most pub and the most coverage from the national media because of who it was and what the matchup meant. Number 1, Georgia, undefeated, looked like a powerhouse that was just going to steamroll everybody. And Alabama, number 3 at the time, said, "Not so fast," to quote the great Lee Corso. We're still the big boys in town. Saban's still, I'm still daddy here in this conference. And they put a little bit of a hurting on Georgia. I don't think anybody saw that sort of hurting coming. I don't think people were surprised that Bama won. I think the nature of how Bama did, scoring 41 on a defense that hadn't given up 41 points probably throughout the whole season, right?
Yeah.
They'd been so good, 7 touchdowns on the season that they'd given up coming into the game, and Bama put up 6 touchdowns and a couple of field goals or 5 touchdowns, and a couple of field goals here to really hang one on Georgia. Can Georgia bounce back in the playoff, or do you suspect to hang over, when they go to play Michigan?
So real quick before I answer that, you made mention of Alabama being back, not so fast. We're still the national championships, the defending national champions. It reminds me of the Eminem song, "Shady's back again."
Saban's back. Tell him.
Yeah. But so going to your question, this is going to be, in my opinion, I think it's going to be somewhat of a blowout. I think this is going to be your Clemson, Ohio State matchup from last year. And I think Michigan will take it to Georgia here.
So you think the hangover is going to be real?
I think the hangover will be real. I really do on this one. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I also can see that Georgia may be focused a little too much on, well, we'll get them in the rematch, right? And if they take Michigan lightly, like
you're not going to get a rematch.
Just call those boys in Columbus, right?
Yeah.
And ask them whether you should take Michigan seriously, because they put it to those boys, and we all thought Ohio State had it going. And then Michigan puts it on Iowa and again in the championship game. So if Georgia's looking past Michigan thinking that we'll get Bama in the rematch, again, not so fast, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't look past that Michigan team because they look different. They look different than they have in the past.
Yeah. And it almost makes you wonder, like, how bad they were up for that game. Georgia was up for that game, because everyone was talking about, well, if they do lose to Bama, they're going to be either a 3 seed or a 4 seed, and so it almost makes you wonder, like, did they care enough about that game?
Because they figured they were locked
because
in.
They figured they were going to be locked in anyway to be a lock for the playoff, regardless, if they won or not, they're going to be a 3 or 4 seed. So, hey, and like you said, we'll get them back in the playoffs if we lose.
That's a good question, because, as former athletes, I think you and I both have experienced something like that, right? Where you're you're either comfortable or you get complacent, and it's possible, right? That Bama punched him in the mouth, and Georgia just we'll see in the playoff. Be careful though. Be careful for sure, because the team they're going to face just put it on Iowa 42-3. This was never close. This was Michigan making good on the win. Yeah, John. Never question Saban, right?
Well,
like,
and
no doubt Saban.
And if you guys remember last week when I made my pick on the Alabama-Georgia game, I picked Alabama. But what I said was there was a little caveat to it, and it all relied on Bill O'Brien, the offensive coordinator of Alabama, to step up his game planning and make some changes, make some adjustments, because the week prior, when they played Auburn in the Iron Bowl, their offense was abysmal. Like, it was non-existent at all. And even at halftime, they came back from halftime, and it really, that offense just did not look like the Alabama offense that we have come to see, And so I said last week, Alabama's going to win if Bill O'Brien makes the changes that he needs to and gets that offense, moving in the right direction, make some changes and get them going, as opposed to what they did against Auburn.
Yeah. And John, you make a good point there with Bama's O-line. They did really dominate. Bryce was never really under pressure from a very strong Georgia front. I think they were well coached, well prepared for this game. I do want to make one quick point before we jump back to the Michigan game, because I think that touchdown pass to Jamison Williams changed the entire tone of that game for Georgia. I had said I have this gift of just cursing teams when I praise them, and I posted that Georgia looked like the better team and Bama looked like they were on their heels. I said one of these teams looks like an undefeated team in the SEC, the other one looks like they're on their heels. And then Jamison Williams breaks contain, and you can't cover the guy because he's got fucking 3.7 speed. Looks like Tyreek Hill. That dude, like that corner or the safety had the save a touchdown angle, man. Mm-hmm. And he just ran. He beat it. He beat it. And that's things we see from like Tyreek Hill and Chris Johnson used to do it.
And give Bryce Young credit too. That was a perfect ball.
Put it on him so he could catch it in stride and run. Use that elite speed, get away from him. And I think the game kind of spun on its head there with that play. And from that point forward, Georgia seemed like a little tentative. They weren't real aggressive on defense. And that Bama defense was obviously up to the task for that Georgia run game because they couldn't get it going.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they did. Maybe you know the right time. You gotta know the right buttons to push for sure. All right, getting back to Michigan though, again they put it on Iowa 42-3. They finished the task, right? They beat Ohio State. You can't have that letdown after that game. They didn't. So Michigan moves into the playoffs. They're moving in as the 2 seed. They'll face Georgia. What kind of momentum do you think they've built after a beatdown of Ohio State, a beatdown of Iowa, and now they get to go face a Georgia team that just got punched in the mouth?
I think the momentum is there. But also too, at the beginning of the season, Michigan had a 0.0% chance of making the college football playoffs. So there's that motivation right there from the very beginning of the season. They're in the playoffs. They're not done. They're hungry. And it's, and we'll get to it next week when we make our bowl picks and everything else. But I don't like giving Harbaugh credit. You know that.
No, you don't.
But he has them focused every single week. And it's been showing, especially in these games, because I've said it before in the show. Michigan, towards the end of the season, breaks down. They haven't passed with Harbaugh. This year, they have not. He has them on the right track. They are tracking upward. They're not tracking downward. They are tracking upward. They played a hell of an Ohio State team. They put a beating on them. They put a hell of a beating against an Iowa team who, at the beginning, mid-season, had very promising. Was very promising.
They were number 2 in the country.
They were number 2 in the country at one point. Exactly. Yep. few losses with them, dropped them back and everything, but they are still a good Iowa team. Kirk Ferentz, that offensive line and everything, they always come ready to play. Michigan will be prepared for Georgia. They know the task at hand. And so I think Harbaugh has them trending upward still. They're not looking past Georgia. They're definitely not. He's putting it in their minds and everything. They're focused one game at a time. And I think it will show come New Year's Eve.
Yeah, and I think John makes a good point, and I think we've both kind of made that point, right? If Georgia looks past Michigan, they're going to be in trouble. If Georgia focuses, they are the better team. I think they have a little more talent on both sides of the ball. Michigan's playing really well. I don't think they're going to be a pushover. But yeah, I'm with you on the Michigan thing. Like they look like they're going in the right direction right now at this time, and they are fucking fired up. For Harbaugh, and I know that hurts you deep.
It does.
To have to give him any credit, but they are like this is a team that's peaking at the right time. We always saw it with like the Patriots, right? And then the Buccaneers last year. To put it in the NFL perspective, like peaking at the right time can get you to those championships, right? So might be what we're seeing with Michigan.
Yep.
All right. And the last of the playoff teams here, they handled business. It looked a little dicey early. They were only up, 14-13 at one point. But in the second half, they ran away from Houston. Cincinnati notches their place in history, the first group of 5 team to get into the playoff, the first non-power 5 team, more directly. Kirk Herbstreit's really in his feelings right now.
Yes, he is. He is.
Yay, Kirk, they broke through the glass ceiling, but that doesn't change what the committee's done in the past. So,
John, I love it, bud.
Yeah.
I love it.
Squirrel finds it.
I know. Trust me. As a Nebraska fan, it definitely pains me to give him credit, but I got to give credit where credit's due. So yeah, but yes, it very much pains me to give him any sort of credit. Yeah,
I don't know how you don't like chicken. But so we're gonna see Cincinnati. They're gonna face Alabama. They started to win with some style down the stretch. What sort of chance do you see for Cincinnati getting anywhere in the playoff? Are we all gonna look back on this and the CFP committee is gonna be like, haha, I told you so?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think
I'm gonna call Saban, see if he'll call the dogs off.
Bama. If Bama wins the coin toss, they're taking the ball, and the first play from scrimmage is going to be a deep ball, and from there, I mean, if that pass is completed, which if he gets behind the defense and everything else, like it's going to go downhill. On the opposite side of it, if they go defensive first, Cincinnati is really going to see what some SEC football is all about. And I mean, you saw what that defensive line did to the Georgia offensive line. Like that run game was non-existent. So yeah, I think this is going to be a game that is over after the first quarter.
Oh yeah.
And as much as we liked Ritter, first part of the season, with the Heisman hopes and this and that, beating Notre Dame and everything, good for Cincy, good for Ritter, good for Luke Fickell. I just don't see it happening. I mean, Alabama is clearly the better team. They're more powerful. They're more deep. And that depth is definitely going to prove what it is, because, even if it is somewhat of a close game in that second half, that depth of Alabama is just going to steamroll Cincinnati.
And they've got a few weeks to get healthy too. I think that's a big deal for them. Brian Robinson's a little nicked up. If they can get him healthy, he's the best back, they've got, and one of the handful of best backs in the league. Bama always has one of the best backs in the country. So, yeah. Corey, I think with Thibodeau, the debate is whether he goes first overall or not. I I think he's going to go to the combine and he's going to shine because he's a freak of an athlete.
Well, he's not playing in the bowl game, so he's already made that clear.
Yeah, so I think he's going to go to his pro day. He's going to go to the combine. He's going to jump real high and run real fast and bench press a bunch, and people are going to get enamored with him. And I could see him going first overall.
I can definitely see him top 2-3 pick.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I don't think he gets out of the top 3 for sure.
Yeah,
unless there may be a team that trades up just to get a quarterback, and then he drops to 2 or 3. But yeah, I don't think there's any way he gets out of the top 3. For sure.
John, TV ratings will suffer because no one will watch the second half. Yeah,
this is what I worry about, right?
Yeah,
I do worry that since he gets blown out, and then we're all like, well. So much for that idea. So
yeah,
for sure. You're right. I think it's him. I think it's Aiden Hutchinson possibly as a consideration there for a team that really wants to get a pass rusher. And then you've got the safety out of Notre Dame, whose name is eluding me, should go in the top 3 or 4. But then there's always the X factor of a quarterback. Does a team trade up to get a quarterback and try to get their guy for the next 10, 15 years? So I think you're talking about the possibility of somebody making the Lions a sweetheart deal that they can't turn down, go get a quarterback, and then Thibodeau might drop to 2 or 3 for sure. All right. We can clean up here with the championship games. We've got a couple here to talk about, so I'm going to save those. San Diego State, though, gets housed by Utah State, 46-13. San Diego State has been ranked like most of the year. What the fuck happened here?
No idea on this one. This one just blew me away at the total lopsidedness of this game. One team came into play, one team didn't. That's all I can think of and explain this one, because it was, I mean, I can't even remember what the line was on this for San Diego State.
They were pretty heavy fit. It was like 10.5 or something.
Yeah. So
unbelievable.
They just didn't come ready to play.
Yeah, they didn't get off the fucking bus. That's for damn sure. Yeah, John, that line's big, but probably not big enough, unfortunately. Yeah. All right. And then Appalachian State, Louisiana wins 24-16. They stay in the top 25. Looks like they're going to get a pretty good bowl. App State, always dangerous, was in this thing, pressing them. Louisiana's coach is going to close out the season and move on. Got that big payday with Florida and that big upgrade. It's probably okay to recruit on the Bayou when you're coaching for the Raging Cajuns, but recruiting in the swamp's a little easier.
Yep, for sure.
All right, so let's circle back. We've got the Big 12 championship game and Baylor versus Oklahoma State, and this was the game that, if any sort of chaos had happened in the top 4, we thought the winner of this game would be next in line, right? But it's clear the committee disagreed. And you and I talked a little bit about this. Baylor only moving up to 6 after the win. Like, they're a champion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, so real quick, I watched the first half at work, drove home, and all of a sudden my phone was blowing up. You were blowing it up, and you were like, wow, what if? I'm like, what the hell just happened? And sure. I'm glad I recorded it, because later on that night, I actually went back and watched it, watched the second half, and man, what a last like 3 series defensively. And John hit it right there. The TCU loss killed Baylor's chance.
Oregon lost to Stanford.
I know.
TCU would beat Stanford by 40.
Oh, man,
I know that's what killed them, right?
I know it is.
That logic doesn't work for me when you lost to a team that's one of the 25 to 30 worst teams in like college football. Like, Stanford's fucking awful this year.
Yeah, they are.
They might not be 25 to 30 worst, but they're fucking bad.
They're bad. They're bad. When the rankings came out on Sunday and you had Ohio State up 1, Notre Dame up one at they were sitting 5-6, and they moved up a spot.
Oh, that's right. Baylor didn't even get in the top 6. You're right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. They were 7.
What an embarrassment.
Embarrassment to the CFP committee right there. Again, multiple occasions this year. But you have 2 teams that are not conference champions ahead of a conference champion who was just 2 spots behind. So you're telling me
they just beat the number 5 team.
They just beat the number 5 team that you guys put at number 5.
Right.
You, the CFP committee, put at number 5. The number 9 team just beat them. They are a conference champion. They move up 2 spots. 2 spots.
Yeah.
You had it. You had it. I can't remember who it was. I cannot remember, but it was. I want to say it was the second CFP rankings. There was a team that lost, I believe. They went down 1 spot. I want to say it might have been one of the Big 12 or Big 12 schools. I can't remember who it was. Yeah. But man, it blows my mind that you had the number 9 team beat the number 5, and you only moved them up 2 spots and kept
behind a couple of non-champions.
Exactly.
I'm good on that committee. You're not. And not only were they non-champions, but they didn't play in their championship game. Like
exactly.
They didn't, like Notre Dame doesn't have a championship game, and Ohio State didn't play in their championship game. So, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I think the competition is probably there, but honestly, like Cincy deserves it, and we can argue about the talent and all that all day. But like they played who was on their schedule. They have a big win. They beat the number 5 team in the country, right? They beat Notre Dame, and I think that's just the reality. Now, if they go and get boat raced by 50 to Bama, then we can all look back and say, well, maybe they shouldn't have been in. But I think at some point we've got to get to a point where it's you play who you play, and if you win, you win, and all that.
And here's where I think the chaos would have happened, and here's where I think you would have seen Baylor in there. Is if Bama lost or Michigan lost, then at that point.
Do you think the committee just went through the motions? But
I think
because Baylor wasn't going to get in, they just said
at that point in time, Baylor's win over the number 5 team. If you're only moving them up 2 spots, that Baylor was not going to get in then.
So here's another question, and I know they lied about it on the show and said that they don't care about matchups, but how much is Baylor being at number 7 about their matchup for the New Year's 6? Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it could be that. It's stupid that they're number 7, but maybe it's for the New Year's 6 matchup. And you know, the chairman, they keep having him on, and they're fucking flat out lying all the fucking time. Like, we don't care about championships. Yeah. Fuck you don't.
And you know,
Georgia would be number 4 if he did.
That's the exact point I was just going to make. Georgia would have been number 4 then, because since he doesn't have a loss. So
yeah,
like move them up then. You kept them the same. You kept them the same. They won. You know? So pull your heads out of your fucking asses.
Yeah. 45-24. I think if that's the score we get, I feel less that people are going to bitch about a group of 5 team being in, because
I think Bama points up against Bama.
I think if Bama plays Oregon, Baylor, Ohio State, any of the Pittsburgh, Utah, they probably beat them 45-24, right? Like, I feel like that's the score they would beat any of those teams by. So if they beat Cincy by that, I'm good with that. If they beat them 50-10, that's when I'm like, oh, well, fuck. Now we're going to have to deal with all this stupid shit.
Yeah.
All right. Last game to talk about here. Our boy, Kenny Pickett, solidifies his Heisman finals run here, Heisman finalist run. We'll see him in New York with the rest of the finalists. Pitt knocks off Wake 45-21. This game was a weird game too. And I say that because I had a betting interest in this game.
Ooh.
Somebody took the under, and I told them they were crazy. And like after 9 minutes, I looked like a genius because it was like fucking 21-21, 9 minutes into the game.
Mm-hmm.
and then it ground to a halt, and like they didn't score
screeching
any. And yeah, they like didn't score any points till the fourth quarter, and then they put a flurry up on the board, and they fell just short of the number. And I was like, "What the fuck just happened?" It's crazy, man.
No,
But Kenny Pickett looked great. 58-yard touchdown to start the game. Touchdown run to start the game.
Yeah.
NFL scouts are like, "Ooh yeah, ooh yeah, we got a big guy that can throw it real far and run the ball. He's my next Josh Allen." That's what everybody's going to compare him to.
I think you might be right. I think you might be right on that one. Pickett, he's been in our Heisman stock report for quite some time now. Yes. Thank you, John. Thank you. I've been saying it. I've been saying it for a couple weeks. If it's not Walker the third, who we'll talk about that later, Pickett. Thank you. Thank you, John. John and I are on the same page here on Heisman and Harbaugh. So thank you. But no, good game. Good game on this one. Close game, high scoring game at first, like you said, came to a screeching halt, and then middle of that third quarter, towards the end there, that's when Pittsburgh kind of pulled away. And what was it? Was it 42-21, 44-21? 45-21. So that Pitt defense, they made some adjustments. They figured it out and didn't allow any more points from Wake from about middle of that second quarter on.
I have to disagree with that statement. The ACC is fucking awful. Pitt's probably the same team with Bryce Young at quarterback. That's more about their competition, though. I'm not saying that Bryce Young is Kenny Pickett, because I'm about to make a statement about Kenny Pickett that I think proves that that's not what I'm trying to say about Kenny Pickett. I think Kenny Pickett should be the number one pick in the draft. I think Kenny Pickett is a guy that can come into a team that is rebuilding and survive those first few years. I think that Mark Whipple did a fantastic job with him, and he looks ready. He's also a little older. He's mature. I think he's a guy that can come into a bad team and survive that first year or two. He's big. He's durable. Put him on the Detroit Lions if I'm a Lions fan. I don't know how popular or unpopular of a pick that would be, but I think that somebody's going to go to the combine and everybody's going to fall in love with this guy that can run a 4.3 40. But that guy, to me, looks the part.
I agree.
Looks like John agrees a little bit. So maybe it's not a super unpopular pick.
I don't think that the Lions will take a quarterback just because of that contract that Goff has. But no, if I were the Jets, Giants, Jaguars.
I said the Jets last week.
Yeah,
we're on the same page.
Yeah.
We're on the same page. I think that would be a great pick for them.
Yeah. Those teams that have a couple picks there.
That Seahawks pick isn't going to be number 3 anymore, though.
No.
They seem to have figured it out a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm glad it's not a super unpopular pick.
I like Aaron's thought.
Yeah, I think he'd fit in well there.
I think he would fit well there.
Already a darling there in the city.
Yeah,
for sure. All right, well, that closes out our championship weekend discussion. We'll take a quick break if you want to read us out to our first sponsor, and we'll come back and we'll talk about some of the CFP matchups.
A little quick 30-second break brought to you by PocketPairClub.com. Pocket Pair Club, club number 26881. PocketPairClub.com.
Let's throw this up here real quick because John makes a good point, and that's why I like Pickett so much at the next level, right? You've been buying all year on his stock in the Heisman. I've been talking about his prospects at the next level, and I think that is what separates him, and that is what makes me think he'd be able to survive a dumpster fire if he was to be taken first overall. He's mature, good decision maker, but he's durable as well. And we normally see guys get beat up pretty good when they get drafted that high in the draft.
Yeah, and John made a good point. Makes amazing decisions, and the first amazing decision that he made was coming back for this fifth year, his super senior year, and that's just done wonders for him and his draft stock going forward. He's grown the past 2 years as a quarterback from making some bad decisions, having some little high interception rate past 2 years, and like you said, Whipple has kind of molded him, has shaped him into the quarterback that he is right now. And yes, making amazing decisions, and you see that with the touchdown interception ratio.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're not going to make picks. We're going to save the picks for next week.
Yep.
But we are going to talk a little bit about the matchups. What are some of the things that might decide these games? What are some of the things you look forward to with these matchups? Let's talk about Bama. Let's talk about Cincy. I know we've talked a little bit about this, but what do you think is the biggest factor for Cincy to contend in this game?
So we got Bama Cincy here. What was your question again? I forget.
What is it that Cincy has to do to compete with Bama in this game?
They got to play all 4 quarters. Simple as that. Like, you have to play all 4 quarters against Bama. You have to bring that BDE for all 4 quarters. You can't let down for 1 minute. If you let down for 1 minute, they will expose you. It's this isn't the Bama teams that we've seen the past couple years. They are down. John's alluded to it a little bit on the defensive side. Their offense is down a little bit compared to what it has been. Their Mechie's out. But yes, John, it's going to be over. Yes, but this isn't the Alabama team of last year. This isn't the Alabama team of 2 years ago where, they can just flat out destroy you just like that. We saw it this year when they struggled against A&M. They struggled against A&M. They struggled against Auburn. They struggled against a couple other teams too, slow moving in some regards in a couple of those games. But don't take them lightly though. So Cincy needs to bring that BDE for all 4 quarters. If they don't, like I told you, I think it's going to be a blowout. I really do. But in order for them to keep it a close game and be in this ball game somewhat, they need to bring that BDE for all 4 quarters.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree with you. There's obviously they've got to get started early. They can't play from behind at all.
Yeah.
And that deep ball, Cincy is on defense is strong in the secondary, but they don't have a guy that can just run stride for stride with Jamison Williams, right? Yeah. Nobody in the nation does, and he proved that this weekend against Georgia. So I'm with you. Cincy's got to have their best football for all 60 minutes to have a chance. They have to get the running game going on offense too, though, because they've got to be able to slow down the pace of the game. And you have to kind of keep that Bama offense off the field too. Don't give them a lot of opportunities because they have been a little slower this year than they were last year, and last year's offense was historic, right? Yeah. But you have to keep that offense off the field, wear down the Bama defense if you can, right? And try to assert yourself. Ritter's going to have to run the ball this weekend too. Mm-hmm. He's going to have to run the ball effectively. They're going to have to run a lot of RPO. In the past, Saban's defenses have struggled
with the RPOs. Yes.
Right, with quarterbacks that can run that RPO efficiently and effectively.
I think, too, what Cincy needs to do, time of possession.
Yep.
Time of possession. Yep. If they can hold on to the ball, even if it's, 6-7 minute drives, maybe come out of there with some points. You have to come out of there with points, but if they can hold on to the ball and have that time of possession, win that time of possession battle, I think it's a little bit closer than what we're giving them credit for. But
Yeah.
we'll see. I mean,
12-minute drives that end in a touchdown. That's how you win.
That's yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the other matchup of the CFP, Michigan versus Georgia. What's going to decide this game here, Stove?
You mentioned it earlier, and it's going to be the hangover for Georgia. And actually for both teams, Georgia's coming off the loss. They have that hangover hanging over them. Michigan coming off the Big Ten championship win. They'll have that hanging over them. One team's coming off a win, the other a loss. I think which team that comes out ready to play from the get-go will be the one that perseveres through this game and wins. And I made my pick earlier on this one, but I'm going with Michigan with this one. And I think it's just with Georgia, I think it's more of a hangover because they had that undefeated season going. They lost to Bama. It's basically your kryptonite. Kirby Smart can't beat Saban. And so now you already lost. You lost your SEC championship game. You lost your undefeated season. Yes, there's a natty title to play for. Okay, I get that. That's a lot. That's a lot of momentum. That's a lot of I can't even think of a word right now, but a lot of hype to get excited for. I just think those other two things will play a factor in it, and they won't be up as much as they should be. And so this is why I think Michigan takes care of business.
Yeah, and I think John hit part of my point on the head that I'm about to make too. It's going to be how effective Michigan can be at controlling the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. But most importantly is how does Michigan stay ahead of the sticks on offense using the running game? Because that is their strength. Hassan, he's a monster. He's going to be a playmaker. Can you get him the space to operate against the second and third level defenders for Georgia? Can the Michigan O-line neutralize that strong defensive line and let him work in that space and do what he does? I think that's going to be the biggest deciding factor is the trenches, but Michigan's ability to run the ball to dictate the tempo of the game. They're not a team that I would expect to be able to contend if they've got to throw the ball 40 times. I don't think that McNamara brings that to the table. And if they're asking McCarthy to try to throw the ball, they're in big fucking trouble because that dude is a trash heap. But you have to, as an offense for Michigan, you have to get ahead of the sticks and you have to do it with your strength so that you keep your identity in this game. And I think if they can keep their identity, stay ahead of the sticks, get 3 yards, 4 yards on first and second down, have third and short where they have the whole playbook open to them. I think that's the biggest thing for Michigan going into this matchup.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about the Heisman finalists. And I know there is a sticking point for you. There's a sticking point for me, but right here we have our 4 finalists. Bryce Young is the betting favorite, and it's really not even close.
It's not even close.
He's like 40 to 1 or minus 4,000. Sorry. And then you've got CJ Stroud, Kenny Pickett, who we both love, and Adam Hutchinson, who I was so excited to see him get the nod to go to New York City. I think that's such a great nod to what he's done all year. But also, I love seeing defensive players get to New York, man. It's so cool because this award is so quarterback centric. I love seeing these guys like Clowney and Sue and now Hutchinson, right, get the call to go to New York City as a Heisman finalist. What are your takeaways? I know you've got a point of contention here, and I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah. I mean, basically, 3 of those guys have been in our Heisman stock report throughout the season. Okay. I think the Heisman committee in selecting these guys, they didn't make a bad decision with any 4 of these guys, but I think they could have made a better one with having Walker third in there. And I would have taken Stroud out on this one, and had Bryce Young, Pickett, Hutchinson, and Walker the third. What Walker the third has done with Michigan State all season long. I mean, dude had what 1,700 yards rushing. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. You're right there, John. That's mine. I take full responsibility for that. Damn Google. But Walker the third has been on my stock report a little bit longer than he was on yours. But man, I'm not taking anything away from Hutchinson or any of the guys on there. I just think that the Heisman committee could have made it a little bit better selection here if they would have had Walker the third, because what he did throughout the season, I mean, 1,700 yards, all the touchdowns. I mean, dude had like 8 games of 125 plus rushing yards, you know? And like you said, in a Heisman quarterback frenzy, what it has been in the last few years, more than that, it hurts me that, you know, you don't have a running back who, for the most part of the year, I mean, he was the running back that people were talking about, and he doesn't get a nod at all here. So, and I don't even know where he ranked, you know, in there, which we'll find out on Saturday, I believe. For the Heisman there, they'll rank, you know, 1 through 6 or 1 through whatever.
Yeah, we'll see the points for the people that got votes. And
yeah, so man, I was really wishing he would have been in there. Bryce Young is definitely going to win it. I mean, he should just flew up to New York after the SEC game and just gotten his trophy. I mean, it's not even going to be close in my opinion. And to me, that's sad, because I truly think that, you know, Pickett is very well deserving of this as well too. You know, he just doesn't play for a flashy Alabama team. So, but Bryce Young's gonna run away with this one.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm with you. My sticking point is CJ Stroud. I've had him in my report, pretty high in my report for a little while, because he was playing lights out, you know, a few weeks in a row, about a month. He had a month stretch where he was pretty lights out. That game against Michigan really, for me, should have taken him out of the finalist contention, because he's missed some time. And that game, he was pretty bad. And early in the season, you know, he wasn't the greatest either. So that's my point of contention is I don't think that CJ Stroud should be a finalist. Now, I had 2 names that I thought could have replaced him, and, you know, one of them should have, whether it's Walker, as you mentioned. My other choice would have been Matt Corral, right? To give him some shine in the Heisman finalist you know, ballot here. But I just think I'm with you, right? If you want to put Walker in there, you take Stroud out, because I don't think Stroud's a finalist. Yeah, Pitt had a bad loss early in the season, and I think it was Eastern Washington or like Eastern Michigan or something. Like, it was a really bad team. Yeah. But you know, I guess, right? It probably is what's killing him. To be honest, though, I think the Heisman Trophy, it's kind of a curse in the NFL. We haven't seen a lot of Heisman winners play very well in the NFL for a while. Yeah, Western Michigan. Bad loss either way. You know, I don't even know if you want to win the Heisman anymore, right? Because you had 44-41 to Western Michigan. But, you know, for a long time, the Heisman Trophy winner, like, just flamed out in the NFL. Leinart and Young and you know, a number of those guys.
And they never won. Yeah, and they really never won if you won the Heisman, you didn't win your bowl game too.
Yeah,
Like that was another curse.
Yep, for sure. So it's almost one of those things, and we've seen some guys kind of turn that corner. Obviously, Burrow has a chance to, be that guy in the NFL, and so it's not like the Heisman is a guaranteed curse, but for a long time it kind of was a hex. So you didn't really want to, I didn't really want the quarterback we were drafting to win the Heisman anyway, right? So
yeah.
But yeah, I think Bryce Young's going to run away with it. I don't think Stroud should be a finalist, and that's just kind of the bottom line for me.
It'll be interesting to see where he lands as a final vote. Is he 2 or 3? Because I think it's going to be quarterback, Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
Thanks, John, for calling us out on that. Got to keep us straight, bud. Keep us straight.
For sure. All right. So I want to transition into salute to service. Yeah, but he had crazy stats, and it's a quarterback award. So I think we all knew Leinart wasn't going to be an NFL quarterback. And it were awful mechanics, and he wasn't an athlete anyway. He was just on a stacked USC team.
Yeah.
Stacked.
Yeah.
Reggie Bush, all those wide receivers, Lendale White. Yeah, for sure. Stacked ass USC team.
Yep.
All right. So we're transitioning to salute to service, and then we'll talk a little coaching carousel after that, and then we'll close up with our final remarks of the night. So thanks for hitting that for me. All right, so last night's episode should have gone out to. I had picked one, and I for some reason December 7th rolls around, and I'm the worst veteran on the planet because I just forget that it's Pearl Harbor Day. But this episode tonight goes out to Edward Shames, a World War II veteran. He was the last surviving officer of Easy Company. Easy Company, for those of you who aren't military historians, is the group of soldiers that the HBO miniseries and the book Band of Brothers was based on. This Easy Company, they were this famous parachute infantry part of the parachute infantry regiment in the 101st Airborne, and they were in a lot of big time high profile battles in World War II. And Edward Shames was an officer within Easy Company. He was 99 when he passed. We're starting to we're running out of World War II vets. We're running out of those hardened heroes that saved the world essentially from the tyranny and fascism and everything that was associated with the Germans and all their allies during World War II. So Edward Shames, a hero among heroes, 99 years old. Rest easy, pal. We have the watch. Those are the ones that those are, I don't want to say fun, but those are the ones that really really stir something, because
Mm-hmm.
that's a guy that fought in some heinous conflict.
Sure.
And came out the other side and lived a long life, 99 years old.
Yeah.
So those are the ones that you really like to pay tribute to, for sure.
Exactly. All right, before we move on to our next segment, we'll take a quick 30-second break and hear from our other sponsor, XL Constructors out of Overland Park, Kansas, Ryan Trotnick with XL Constructors over Overland Park, Kansas.
You always got my back, buddy.
Always, bud. Always. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So let's talk a little coaching carousel. I'm gonna tip my cap again, buddy. You called it. You called it when Brian Kelly went to LSU, and now you've nailed Mario Cristobal heading home, going to Miami.
Going back to Miami.
Got the head coaching gig down there in Coral Gables. He built the Oregon program back up to, respectable levels after Chip Kelly left and they started to lose, some of that hype and talent. He kind of brought them back to prominence. The CFP committee put him at 3 at one point. Mario Cristobal, though, heading back down to South Florida. Good call, buddy. Good call.
Thank you.
Did you go play the lotto the other day?
I wish.
I wish. You should have.
Would have shared some of that money too. But no, been calling it for a few weeks now. Going home, see what he can do. But who's not happy about this is old Oregon and the AD there. He was not happy with the way Miami handled everything. Not reaching out to see if we can talk to your coach. Like, there is some, there's some sportsmanship. I guess I should say courtesy. And nope.
Well, Manny wasn't happy either.
No, and that's the thing. And here's the other thing: they make this decision without having a damn AD.
Right.
This isn't the AD's decision.
Like hired a coach who the people hired him aren't even the ones that are going to have to work with him.
Exactly. I mean, I for sure thought that, and I still think it's still going to be a done deal. I think the AD for Clemson is going to go down to Miami, and then he was going to make that call to Mario to bring him down. But no, Miami just has it in their head.
Mario's calling him.
Yeah, they're doing things ass backwards in Miami. Maybe that's not what you need to be doing. You've been doing things wrong for so long. Let's not put the cart in front of the horse here. Yeah. So
yeah, John, I think that grad student thing is going to hang with Lane for quite a while.
Yeah, John, I saw that tonight, bud. The Oklahoma Republican senator has proposed. I think it's 3 inches. Was it 3 inches? I believe of a highway going westbound out of Oklahoma to be called the Lincoln Riley Highway. Yeah.
Listen, I can respect that fucking hustle, man. I can respect. That's some petty shit that I can get down with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, good stuff. Yeah. Okay. 3 inch. Yep.
Yeah.
So one of the other coaching hires, and it was, I don't know how we didn't catch it or anything, but it happened literally while we were doing this show last Wednesday. And that was the Notre Dame coaching search was over, and they went in-house. Schwarbach there, he said, it might take me a day. It might take me a month. We'll see. And
it took him an hour.
Yeah. He knew where he was going, and they made that decision clear. And here's where I think I think they made the right decision, but I think they made that decision when they did because of what the CFP committee said.
Yeah.
The previous day when saying
they were hoping Bama would lose and they'd have a chance to get we got a head coach.
Hey,
coach.
We make our decisions, if someone's not playing or a head coach isn't there, we'll look at all those factors into our rankings. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, that is total bullshit and how you rank those teams.
Yeah.
Like that just,
that's
total bullshit. But no, happy for him. I think that's a great hire for Notre Dame. But I heard this
real quick on the Notre Dame thing too. And what makes me believe it really is the right hire is when the AD, when Sorbic came in and made the announcement to the team and they just went fucking bananas. He's clearly one, that defense is great. So
Mhm.
he's clearly doing a good job, but he is clearly highly respected in that locker room. And I read a story that the athletes actually petitioned the AD to hire him. I guess they wrote a letter, and it ended up with Swarbrick, and they said, we would, if you're going to hire in house, we want him as our next head coach and whatnot. And he took that into consideration. I think he was already thinking that was the way to go, but that tells me
That
that
tells you a lot about
this
the guy
dude
when,
owns that locker room.
yeah, yeah.
And his introductory press conference too, man. Like, I wanted to run through the wall of my own house listening to that guy talk. Like, that
Yeah.
dude's awesome. I think it's a great hire for Notre Dame.
Well, and it also, with him and
they won a national title.
I can't remember. I think it's the offensive coordinator. I can't remember his name, but he was, his name was out there on following Brian Kelly down to LSU, and he didn't want to leave. He wanted to stay. Former quarterback for Notre Dame. Is their offensive coordinator. I can't remember his name right now. It's eluding me.
It's not Brady Quinn. It's the other one.
But he wanted to stay there at Notre Dame if everything worked out. He loves it there, loves the players there, and he gave a speech too to the players in a meeting. But yeah, I mean, just the things that we're seeing. Tommy Reese. Yes, thank you. The things that we're seeing from some of these meetings with the departing coaches. Like, I can't remember if I sent you the one with Oklahoma or not.
I don't think you did.
Okay. So I saw something on Oklahoma too, is Riley met with them, saying this was one of the hardest decisions of his life, which, I believe that to an extent, and one of the players got up and said, man, you made this decision all on your own. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, it was like there was
hadn't seen that. Ooh,
yeah, I'll try and find it, and we'll post it on social media once I can find it. But man, it was like get out of here. Like, you made your decision. You told us, like the previous week, like, you're not going anywhere, and you make this decision. It's like players were pissed.
Yeah.
Players were pissed, and I think you could see that with some of the guys going to the transfer portal. Obviously, all these teams that are having coaching changes, they're having some decommits from their recruits and everything. As if I were in their shoes, I would probably do the same thing, because you were recruited by certain coaches. You don't know if some of those coaches that came to visit you are going to be there, and so I think that's where some of these coaching changes, they're making some of those decisions on their head coaches sooner rather than later to help calm the storm and help get some of those recruits back.
Yeah, the transfer portal has really changed that game.
Yeah.
It used to be that, you could transfer without losing eligibility if you were like a freshman and you had come to school because of that coach and that sort of thing. Now it's, the transfer portal makes everything just kind of wishy-washy and whatnot. But, I think you're right that maybe Notre Dame, not only about the CFP, but also about trying to keep some of these players from the recruiting class and keep players in-house. You want to make a decision pretty quickly. So,
yeah.
I think that definitely is part of the calculus when it comes to trying to hire somebody quickly. You want to find the right guy, of course. Mm-hmm. You want to find the right person for the job. But if you can do that, and you can also keep a bunch of those players you already have on your roster and those commitments you already have, I think that's definitely a big part of the calculus as well.
Yeah. So one other coaching change that happened Sunday night, early Monday morning. Obviously, the Oklahoma job with the hiring of Brent Venables. He once was an assistant coach there. Then he moved on to Clemson, where he's been with Sweeney, I think, since 2011.
Been a while. Maybe? He's been there.
He's been there a while.
Sounds about right.
Yep. And has had multiple head coaching offers within last five years or so, and has turned every single one of them down. Same with a couple other coaches that we'll get to on that Clemson staff. And I read an interesting article the week prior, and it was just talking about the culture that Clemson has built with Sweeney and company, that these coaches, they have other opportunities to go elsewhere. They choose not to because of the culture that is there in Clemson. And this is a good fit, I think, for Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma got their guy. I think they got the right guy for the job. My only thing with this is I want to see Venables succeed there at Oklahoma. I just don't want it to be another Muschamp. Very good defensive minded coach, and then becomes a head coach, and then it just falls apart. We saw it with him at Florida. We saw it with him at South Carolina, and now I think he's on Georgia's staff right now.
I think you're right.
Speaking of Muschamp, so that's my only thing with Venables is that part I don't want to see. I want to see him succeed. I think he's a great guy, great coach, obviously. So yeah, what are your thoughts on Venables going to Oklahoma?
Yeah, I think it's the right hire for Oklahoma, because I think going to the SEC, you're going to have a guy that understands what it takes to win in the SEC. Now, Venables has not been coaching in the SEC, but being at Clemson, facing Alabama a number of times in the playoff, I think they kind of understand what it takes to get to that level to be able to face an Alabama and take them on and win. So I think that's very valuable that he brings that to the plate. I also think that Oklahoma is going to benefit from having a defensive-minded head coach, because I think that Oklahoma recruits itself when it comes to offensive talent, and the way that they're going to be able to level the playing field transitioning to the SEC is being able to get that offense coached up, get that offense ready to play those big games in the Southeast. So I think it's a great hire. I was really, really, really surprised because, like you said, Sweeney, not only does he create a culture there, but I think Clemson's in the top couple of salaries for their assistant coaches, because he has gone to.
He's almost at $3 million.
It's and Dabo understands that, right? I'm successful because of who my assistants with. Exactly. And he has gone and said these guys need to get paid. I think at one point he even took a lesser contract, I believe, to ensure that his assistant coaches would get paid. I can't, don't quote me on that, but I think
you're right, though.
I think that has happened in previous negotiations with him. And I think it's them, and Bama pays theirs really well. There's only a handful of schools that really pay their assistants on that level, and Clemson is one of them. So not only money wasn't going to, I say that to say that money wasn't going to be the thing that pulled him away. So I was surprised because, as you said, he's had a number of opportunities in the past. It's a good place for him to go, because I think Oklahoma is one of those places that it's not going to take a lot for him to get a good recruiting base built up. I think it's already recruits itself to a certain extent. And I think it's a good place for him to cut his teeth on a head coaching gig. I was just really surprised. I just thought that Venables legitimately was just going to stay at Clemson as long as Dabo was there.
I'm right there with you. I mean, I really am. So shocked, but also happy. And I think that, right there with you. Oklahoma made a good hire there. John, I wonder if Dabo refusing to use the portal was the straw that broke the camel's back with Venables leaving Clemson.
Maybe.
Man. Yeah.
Maybe.
No idea. idea.
They are hurting at quarterback and yeah, that's a good point. He's in pretty damn good shape for a 50-year-old. I could only wish to look like that at 50.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, there may be a number of things that went into consideration, but maybe he just felt it was time for him to.
Well, that's kind of where he got started too. That's kind of where he got started too. There. So it's almost like a coming home party.
Yeah.
Too, so to speak. So speaking of Clemson, Dabo, and Venables, Virginia's head coaching position I hear is almost a done deal with Clemson's offensive coordinator
Ooh, they're
in
gonna lose them
Elliott.
both, huh?
Yeah, losing both coordinators to head coaching positions, and it's tough. Having to pick new offensive and defensive coordinators, and I saw something interesting yesterday when Dabo was asked, what do you think of the hire for Venables going to Oklahoma? And he said, man, it's awesome. He's a great guy, and that's a tribute to the coach, the guy that he is, but also our program too.
Yeah,
They see what he's done here, you know, um, and you know, I truly think that Dabo is sincere in his words when he's speaking of that, because they've been together for, like you said, almost 10 years.
yeah.
10 years together. They built Clemson back to what it is. Obviously this year was a down year for them. But man, losing both coordinators to head coaching jobs in one
That's
year,
tough.
it's yeah. It'll be interesting to see how they bounce back this next year.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
Hey,
I
real
think,
quick,
yeah, go ahead.
So, who is your pick now? And you mentioned it today. Um, who's your pick for the next Oregon head coach?
Ooh.
You mentioned Lane Kiffin earlier today, and I told you that they just
I don't buy it.
I don't buy it either, because Ole Miss just signed him to an extension. But like I told you, nothing would surprise me with Lane Kiffin.
I know. I don't buy it because I don't think that that's where he would want to go. I think he wants to be successful in the SEC. I think his pride has him in a position where he wants to be successful in the SEC. And I think that's why FIU or FAU was where he went, because he could stay in the Southeast, close to the SEC. They booked a game against Bama. They pushed hard to get that done. So I don't think that Kiffin ends up in Oregon. I feel like Oregon is going to end up with an obscure hire off someone's staff. I don't think they're going to fetch a big name. I look. I don't know, man. Like I just think. Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, he wants to so bad, man.
Yeah.
He wants to beat Saban, and I just think that's why he's going to stay in the SEC. To be honest, I don't really have a name, unfortunately, with Oregon. Like I've put a little thought to it.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't have a name. And when the Lane thing came up, it struck me as odd, because I don't think they're going to be able to just go fetch a head coach either. They're in the Pacific Northwest. It's not an easy sell up there.
It's Oregon.
It is Oregon. You got Nike money.
Got Nike money.
But
all right. So since you don't have a name,
yeah.
I'm gonna throw one out here to you. Okay. 2 for 2. Can we make it?
You are 2 for 2. You are 2 for 2. We going. We're gonna hit the. Yeah.
Chip Kelly. Go back.
I've thought about that. That actually was the first name I thought about too. I think they would take him back. I think he would take that job back, and I think that'd be a pretty big coup for those two to reunite, because like he kind of made that brand, and then all that Nike money helped him build that brand. And if he hadn't left for the NFL, they were on the brink of being a fucking dynasty, man. Like they had so much talent go through Oregon.
Yeah, Chip Kelly, you had Scott Frost as your offensive coordinator.
And the players they were getting in there too. They were just churning NFL talent out. Playmakers in the NFL on both sides of the ball. Yeah, maybe, but I'm with you. I don't see him going out west either. Yeah, I think UCLA is tough, right? Because you're recruiting against USC.
You're recruiting against Oregon.
You're recruiting against all the other teams in the Pac-12 as well.
UCLA, when you talk Pac-12 football, like UCLA, like it doesn't.
They're such an afterthought.
To me, UCLA is basketball.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like Kansas. Kansas is
Yep.
not football. Kansas is basketball. North Carolina basketball.
Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Yep. I'm
So
with you.
yeah, so you're competing against USC and Oregon up there,
Yeah.
and now Oregon basketball has been up there. They've been making March Madness. They were in the Natty. I think they were in the Natty 2 years ago, maybe, or 3 years ago. 3 years ago, because they didn't have it in 2020. So yeah, I mean, you're competing against those recruits going to USC and Oregon. Yeah, I just don't see UCLA as like a hotspot for recruits to go to.
Yeah, I don't think UCLA was ever permanent for Chip either. And John's probably right to a certain extent that offense that Chip runs is a little outdated for today's college game. But I think he's adaptable to a certain extent. So he just doesn't have a lot of talent there in UCLA. They don't have a lot of great football players on that team. So that's a good name. I thought about that name almost immediately when the crystal ball announcement came out, but I don't know. I have this inkling that they're going to go grab an assistant off someone's staff here. Maybe they stay in conference and they look at Utah or Arizona State, something like that. With some of those assistants that Herm's built there. A lot of former pros are on that staff that could come up there and maybe bring some energy to the table. So I think Oregon's going to go after an assistant here. But yeah, I don't have a name personally. I haven't been able to come up with one that really like gave me that immediate warm fuzzy, like, yeah, that one's the one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think out of, and yes, it's fairly new, since, news came out that Mario took the Miami job. So I think it's fairly new and a lot of the bigger name coaches are already elsewhere, and Oregon's kind of an afterthought now with everything going on. So,
yep,
yeah,
for sure. Yeah, you want to be first to the table. You don't want to be last to the table.
Yeah, yeah. Hey,
and I think that's another thing that pissed Oregon off too. Is like, this is not good timing for them.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, before we wrap up,
yep,
we got one big game that we need to talk about.
Oh yes, sir.
Army Navy.
Yes, sir.
Bucket list of games to go to.
Yeah.
I want to go to one so bad. It happens to fall during my busy season. Sure. But one of these years, I'm gonna make it to one. I'm just gonna bite the bullet. I'm gonna go. Who you got?
I think Army. Army's the better team this year, and that pains me to say.
How many times are you going to go against your Navy boys? You're Navy.
I will be cheering Navy on, but you're asking me who I think's going to win.
Touche.
Army's just got a little more talent this year.
Yeah.
And it fucking pains me to say that, because go Army beat Navy, or go Navy beat Army for sure. Like you, this is a bucket list for me. My sister was actually at West Point for a couple of years, but I was still active duty and it just didn't line up for me to even try to get there. I live about an hour and a half from Annapolis. So that's the one I'm aiming for. One of these years, I do want to get to Annapolis. The atmosphere there is nuts, because it's such a small town.
Yeah.
Just like West Point, they're both like really small towns that just get fucking crazy whenever the armed forces play each other. So.
Well, and especially the games in the snow.
Yes.
God, I love those games. I don't know what it is, but football and snow, like pros and college games, and especially this one, because it happened a couple years ago. I think maybe last year it was rainy or foggy, but 2-3 years ago it was snowing, and you love seeing those games, and you're just like, man, that's a real man sport right there.
Absolutely. Who you got?
I got Army on this one as well. Yeah. I'm with you. Is the game in Philly this year?
I believe it's in Philly this year.
Okay.
Yeah, they rotate.
They rotate
between
got
Baltimore, Philly. West Point,
Annapolis.
Annapolis.
Yeah.
I think those
Yeah.
are the 4 main ones that they rotate. I think they played in. Did they play in MetLife one year too, or maybe back when it was the Meadowlands? I think they played in New
Okay.
York City one year. They rotated a little bit, but yeah, one of these years when it's in Annapolis, I want to go there.
I think Annapolis is the one that I want to go to as well. So definitely a bucket list.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that brings us to closing remarks. You got anything for us though?
I talked a lot today. I appreciate John joining in for a second week in a row. Appreciate it, John. Love the comments. Love the back and forth. Especially keeping us on our toes with some name misspelling. Appreciate that. Real quick, John, if you're still listening, message us on Facebook. We like to send some of our constant viewers and people that engage with us little Christmas gift for this year. So message us on Facebook and give us your address and everything, and we'll get you a nice little Christmas gift for joining us and following us along. So thank you everyone for joining us. We'll be back again next week. Talk some bowl predictions.
Yeah, buddy. As always, really appreciate.
Yeah,
he corrected his own spelling. He had an AIDAN, and now it's AIDEN. For sure. But yeah, shoot us a message. We appreciate everybody joining in, everybody engaging. It makes it so much more fun when we've got that back and forth. I enjoy debating with you back and forth, Stove. But when
it's always nice to get some new blood in there.
When we've got third and fourth party perspectives, I like it. So, John, we appreciate it. Dad, Corey, everybody that engages each week. I believe we saw Aaron Trotnick earlier for sure. Trotnick, a lot of times we get him. Yep, for sure. Appreciate all you guys. We'll see you next week. We're going to talk predictions for the Bulls next week. For those of you that are betting degenerates as we are, we'll talk spreads. We'll talk matchups. Look forward to seeing you all next week. Have a good night. We are out.